Commander Legends Baldur's Gate is already being previewed and spoiled, so too late to do predictions for that set. They also did a few previews for Dominaria United, so even though Streets of New Capenna is about 2 weeks old and Commander Legends Baldur's Gate for Battle hasn't even come out yet, I need to get while the getting's good and offer my top 5 predictions for the set that comes after the set that comes after the set that just released. Yeah, I better hurry! But I just can't. You see, the greatest prediction for Dominaria United already happened, and it didn't come from me! 3 months ago, Reddit user Televangelist posted their theory that Dominaria United is a red herring, and that the set will really be Dominaria Completed. Their theory being that Dominaria at last falls to the Phyrexians, giving us the perfect setup for the Brothers' War in which Karn must time travel back to when it all started to somehow change the past and save Dominaria from the new Phyrexians. Oh my god, I love that idea so much. This is the most brilliant, clever, and exciting thing they could ever do with Dominaria United, but based on the few previews we already started to see of Dominaria United, it looks like this theory is already disproven, at least in part. But can you imagine? We'd be able to see a Phyrexian-ruled Dominaria have a link to the Brothers' War before Urza even is a planeswalker, as Karn serves as a conduit between the old and new lore, and then likely return to see a real Dominaria United in the hopefully saved future. I just love this theory so much, and I will continue to think of it long after whatever the real plot for Dominaria United and Brothers' War is ever revealed. And that, my friends, is why I love to speculate and predict for future sets. Not because I get my predictions correct, you know, sometimes I do, but because of the creativity, imagination, and just plain old gumption behind speculating about a game and story that I love. That's kind of why these videos matter, and why there's no reason to look at my last prediction video and see just how right or wrong I may have been, right? Right? Oh, okay, we'll look and see how well I did. But first, speaking of predictions, I've been listening to a great audiobook about predictions thanks to today's sponsor, Audible. Visit audible.com/TalarianCommunity or text Talarian Community to 500-500 to start your free 30-day trial today. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment all in one place. As an Audible member, you'll get 1 credit every month, good for any title in our entire premium selection. Those titles are yours to keep forever in your Audible library. Audible members don't have to worry about using their credits right away. You can keep your credits for up to a year, and if you're not loving your selection, you can simply swap it out for another. You'll also get full access to Audible's Popular Plus catalog, filled with thousands and thousands of audiobooks, original entertainment, podcasts, and more. All are included with your membership, so you can download and stream all you want. No credits needed. Right now I'm listening to people who are much better with predictions than I am, and that's Kelly and Zach Weinersmith's Soonish. This book looks at 10 emerging technologies that have the potential to improve and or ruin everything. Want to learn about the real-world potential of asteroid mining? How about programmable matter or precision medicine designed for your specific body? These real emerging technologies are explained in a clear and entertaining way, combining the scientific expertise of Kelly Weinersmith with Zach's humor. So if that sounds like something you want to check out, you can try it free with the link below or use your credit on whatever you desire. So start listening with a free 30-day Audible trial and get full access to thousands and thousands of all-you-can-listen audiobooks, original entertainment, and podcasts included in the Audible Plus plan. Visit audible.com/TalarianCommunity or text Talarian Community to 500-500. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring this video. So before I begin with the top 5 predictions for Dominaria United, alright, let's see how well I did from last time. Roll 'em! I'm predicting, though, that we will see the completion of a land cycle that was last seen on a wedge color set, the Triomes. Speaking of color combinations, my second prediction for Streets of New Capenna has to do with something we've never seen before, and that is demons that are neither black nor red. At the same time that Aaron Forsyth mentioned that Streets of New, if it's 3-color demon-led crime families, then it is highly likely that we're gonna see the heads of those families and that we're gonna get a Bant demon. And because there's probably a lot of demons in the set and we're already doing a Bant one, we're probably gonna see some mono-colored demons that are not black or red. A mono-white demon? A mono-blue demon? So for my third prediction, I expect we will see Sheoldred on Streets of New Capenna. Not only are we going to see Sheoldred sent to New Capenna, but she will be accompanied by another completed planeswalker. 3 returning mechanic predictions. What are my 3 picks? Ascend, and by extension, City's Blessing. And the one that really stands out to me as possible is Devour. Cycle. I mean, I already predicted the Triomes, right? It's been 2 years and everybody loves it, so why not? No, you can't have a story set on a city controlled by mob bosses where all the mob bosses lose. That would be underwhelming. We need to see the bad guys, the villains, win for a change. And so that is my biggest prediction for Streets of New Capenna. Hey, don't look at me. You keep clicking on the videos. It's not even about, that's, you know, the reason I did the whole thing about the Reddit user at the beginning is because it's not about getting it right. It's about the love of speculation. Have you no love in your hearts? So what do I expect to see in Dominaria United? Well, prediction number 5 is actually something I expect not to see, and that is my favorite new type of Magic card. Sagas. I hate to say it, but as much as I love sagas, I don't think they're going to be in Dominaria United, and it actually makes a lot of sense for them not to be there. So sagas are a type of enchantment that initially debuted in Dominaria, our last trip to the plane of Magic's birth. They're one of my favorite things. I did an entire video all about their origin, how they almost were the way Planeswalker cards functioned. You can check that out if you haven't already. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever done. But as cards, sagas tell stories, including myths that flesh out a plane's backstory, or, as they did originally, the history of past events in Magic the Gathering. They are an excellent, flavorful, and beloved card type, but I do not believe we will see them here. Our last outing to Dominaria had a deeply historic theme, from sagas to legendary spells to artifacts. In fact, everything that was referenced in the historic mechanic. Dominaria was a set that focused on and was shaped by the past, but Dominaria United, however, will be looking toward the future. To return to Dominaria and just have another set that's obsessed with the sagas of the past would feel like too much of what we saw before, and they're going to want to change that feeling. If anything, they're going to introduce some new things that focus on the idea of progress, on where Dominaria is headed, and I'll talk about those in just a moment. So for that reason, as well as their recent inclusion in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, I believe it's reasonable to expect that we will not be seeing sagas in Dominaria United. In fact, I doubt we'll even see the historic mechanic. That was great. The Return to Dominaria set that we had was such a home run, but they're not just going to do a redo of it. They want to break new ground. So, what are we going to see? Well, before I talk about mechanics, let's talk story beats. Prediction number 4, we're going to see the return of the Gatewatch as the main focus of the story. You know, ever since War of the Spark, we turned away from the Gatewatch to focus on the other characters and story arcs. Even when Gatewatch members have appeared, they have generally been acting on their own, as Jace and Nissa did in Zendikar Rising and Kaya did in Kaldheim. Or they have played supporting roles to other main characters, as happened in the 2 most recent Innistrad sets. Well, get ready for the Morrow cut of the Justice League. That doesn't make any sense. I just wanted to make that joke. It makes no sense. There's nothing to read into that. But I predict that starting in Dominaria United, we will see the Gatewatch become the focus of the story once again. The recent preview stream hinted at a brand new multi-set story arc, and given the recent reappearance of the Praetors, I suspect it has something to do with New Phyrexia. Teferi and Ajani, both Gatewatch members, have turned their focus to New Phyrexia lately, and whenever there is a threat to the multiverse, the Gatewatch is bound to interfere. I mean, step in to save the day. Ajani's even on the packaging for the set boosters, and so's Professor Onyx. Now, she's not in the Gatewatch like Liliana is, but she's probably joining, right? Even with the Gatewatch once again returning to center stage, I suspect we will see more focus on Gatewatch members like Ajani, Teferi, and Kaya, rather than Jace, Chandra, and Nissa. I also have a feeling we may see yet another established planeswalker formally join the Gatewatch. Can you guess who it is? Moving on to prediction number 3, the very name, Dominaria United, conjures images of goblins and merfolk, please, working together, elves standing side by side with humans, and homerids breaking bread with thalids, or whatever it is that homerids and thalids eat. So what better way to show Dominaria uniting than a mechanic that encourages players to use multiple tribes? I predict Dominaria United will introduce a mechanic that is not tribal, but actually encourages multi-tribe construction of your decks, giving synergy between different tribes. But wait, you ask, isn't that what Wizards of the Coast did with the party mechanic in Zendikar Rising? Yeah, I guess, and wasn't party, you ask, something of a constructed non-starter? Geez, if you want to put it that way, but that said, Party did play a strong role in limited formats, and I could see, with some tweaking, a similar mechanic making an appearance in Dominaria United and maybe having better results in Constructed. Even though it didn't make that much of an impact outside of Limited, people loved Party. They kept asking for it to come back. They were really obsessed with what it represented, and I suspect the key to making such a mechanic work would have something to do with the broadening the sort of creature types that you need to make it work. Party asked for rogues, clerics, warriors, and wizards, but what if the requirements weren't so narrow? That could make for quite the flavorful mechanic. But I don't think the entire story is just going to be the Gatewatch comes together to get ready to put an end to New Phyrexia once and for all. In fact, my penultimate prediction is a doozy. I think it will be based on Dominaria and center around Teferi, who I predict will finally manage to restore the long phased-out nation of Zhalfir. Over 20 years ago, our time, and over 300 years ago in the Magic the Gathering universe, multiverse, Teferi phased out his homeland Zhalfir, and it was the most powerful and advanced culture on the plane of Dominaria. Urza had intended for it to bear the brunt of Phyrexia's assault. Teferi wouldn't let that happen. Doubting the success of such a ploy, Teferi abandoned that fight and sealed away Zhalfir to keep it safe in the oncoming war. Unfortunately, during the mending, this phasing out seemingly became permanent, and the loss of his homeland at his own hands in an attempt to save it has haunted Teferi ever since. Recent stories have hinted at Teferi learning the necessary skills to undo his own magic, the goal of returning his homeland to the corporeal world at the forefront of his mind. The stage is now set for another war with Phyrexia, and rather than running from it, Teferi is one of the key figures preparing to fight. If the threat of New Phyrexia is indeed the reason for Dominaria uniting, as I suspect it is, that union would not be complete without bringing Zhalfir home. My fifth and final prediction has to do with the biggest mistake to ever happen, a mistake that happened in a single line of flavor text from the original Dominaria. On Navigator's compass, we are told the Weatherlight can no longer plane shift, but it can traverse Dominaria with ease. I hated that decision and thought that the restoration of the Weatherlight was a perfect opportunity to begin to take characters, the whole crew of the new Weatherlight, not just Joyra, but all of the other wonderful characters we were introduced to, and allow them to travel along with our Planeswalker heroes throughout the multiverse. And so it is my final prediction that Dominaria United will see the return of plane-shifting capabilities to the Weatherlight, perhaps much improved, and will allow our legendary heroes of Dominaria to walk the planes. Or, I guess, sail through them. You get the idea. During the wars against Yawgmoth and the original Phyrexians, the skyship Weatherlight acted as the vanguard of Urza's forces, traveling from plane to plane, foiling Phyrexian ambitions wherever they went. The names of the original crew have become legendary. Sisay, Tangarth, Squee, Hana, and of course Gerard. The Weatherlight itself, the legacy weapon it held, proved the decisive factor in the war. When Joyra rebuilt the skyship, it represented a resurrection of a heroic ideal. Even so, that new Weatherlight is not quite the ship that its namesake was, as it was unable to traverse the blind eternities to travel from plane to plane. Well, that, I hope, is about to change. With New Phyrexia's influence spreading across the multiverse, a way to transport those who seek to fight it will be necessary, and what better way than the ultimate symbol of an anti-Phyrexian resistance? I predict that the skyship Weatherlight will once again soar across the plains of the multiverse, meeting the evil of New Phyrexia wherever it dares to rear its vile metal head. But now I want to hear from you. What predictions do you have for Dominaria United? Mechanics you think might return, or story beats you hope to see? Let me know in the comments below. How many of these predictions from today did I get right or wrong? We'll just have to wait and see, though not very long, given how fast Wizards is. Are we done with, we're already moving on to Brothers War. Oh, we're moving on to what's after Brothers War. Okay, got it. Hey, thanks again to Audible, sponsor of this video. You know, you can start listening with a free 30-day Audible trial and get full access to thousands and thousands of all-you-can-listen audiobooks, original entertainment, and podcasts included in the Audible Plus plan. Visit audible.com/TalarianCommunity or text Talarian Community to 500-500. Thanks again to Audible for sponsoring this video. We're on to 2024. Really? Oh my goodness. Oh, slow down. Do you remember Kamigawa Neon Dynasty? Oh, I wish we were still there, got to enjoy that set. What happened with the Streets of New Capenna? We're gone. Anyway, are you ready for the next set? Help but feel you didn't rightfully earn your position.
How dare you? I lied about my past, placed sinister hexes on my competition, threatened the hiring committee, and vowed to exact revenge on this plane if I didn't get the tenured position.
Yeah, I know, that's all very standard stuff in academia. There's still something off about this. I can't put my finger on it, but you don't just go from villainess to necromancer to tenured professor.
Look, just sign off on my review or I'm going to turn your bones into a thick purple soup.
Jeez, all right, here you go. Here, signed. I gotta say, I really prefer Classic Lily.
What do you mean, Classic Lily?
I'll show you. I've got her calling card right here.
I told you to never call me again.
Huh. I can see why she's a fan favorite.